Hi there, I'm Alex Simmons. You might know me from DJing, live streaming, or Rugby AM, presenting the TV show with Jamie Jones-Buchanan. Or also, I'm the Joint Operations Director for Jamaica Rugby League, and it's been announced today that we'll be hosted by the great city of Leeds in the World Cup in 2021. Not a lot of people know what my day job is though. My day job, I'm Head of Diversity for a company called Intermarketing, or IMA, we're being rebranded. IMA is a global marketing agency, one of the biggest, and we've got brands like Adidas, Reebok, Kind, some huge brands. And my job as Head of Diversity, internally, we've built a culture team. We've been laying foundations for over a year, some of the great work we've been doing. And we also help brands, whether it's training, whether it's workshops, whether it's finding their why and helping them be more diverse, equal and inclusive. Obviously, with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement after some of the awful thing that's happened in America, the campaign's touched everybody globally. And this week, back into work after furlough, and I've been connected with Black Lives Matter. We've done some really important conversations, and a big thanks to Danny Evans and the team there, because we 100% support the campaign and in an authentic manner. That's the really important thing. We're all about positive action, and thankfully with my roles with Rugby AM and Jamaica Rugby League, we thought, because it's been announced today that we're going to be in Leeds, we know there's a disconnect with the black community in Rugby League, and we wondered why. So I got together some of the leading people from the black community who work in Rugby League, especially specific to the city of Leeds where we're going to be hosted, and we had a great Zoom chat. So it's about 2 hours long, so I've edited it down with the team, and this is just some of the thinking and some of the conversation that came out of that chat. I hope you like it. I hope it strikes a chord. I hope you hear something and an opinion you might never have heard before. This is what it's about. We're going to be putting together a bit of a report to help Leeds City Council, Leeds Rhinos, Jamaica Rugby League make the most of the opportunity next year, because we can't, and obviously the World Cup, we can't wait for the World Cup. We can't wait to invite all the fans from Jamaica, the players from Jamaica, all the Jamaicans in the UK, everyone from the Caribbean community, because we're going to bring the culture, we're going to bring the food, the passion, the energy, the music, the carnival atmosphere. We can't wait, and hopefully you'll come along for us for the ride and enjoy the World Cup and Jamaica being in Leeds. Check this out, and please drop me an email, let me know your thoughts, and yeah, let's keep talking. Black Lives Matter.
In terms of Black Lives Matter, I obviously, like I say, it's been away for a while. So I've not been able to be involved in stuff like this as much as I would have liked to. With everything that obviously has transpired in the last few weeks, it was about a week and a half ago, I just felt compelled to do something, to find a way to do something. And so I found Marvina Newton. I don't know if any of you guys know her, but she is kind of she started the Black Lives Matter Leeds movement. And so I got in contact with her, told her a little bit about myself, and then told her that I really wanted to be on board in whatever way was necessary. And so me and her worked very closely this last week and a half. We had an online protest on Sunday, and within the community there's been a lot of calls, people wanting to do an in-person thing, but I don't know how familiar you guys are with the stats, but the BAME community, British, Asian, Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups are 4 times more likely to die from COVID. So in terms of an in-person demonstration, it's something that we're really wary of and really cautious with. So we didn't just want to jump in and go and do a march because of the risk with that. So we did an online protest. It was a success. We had over 50,000 views, reach of over 100,000, and we really think that it got the educational side with the morning side, and I think it was really beneficial. So yeah, just quickly in terms of what we're trying to do, long lasting, we want to see some differences with the education. Like I said, I've learned more in the last 2 weeks just from going and looking for it over the internet than I have my whole life through school. So more to do with that. We want things to do with the police. There's a disproportionate amount of young Black people in young offenders centers, and we want some answers on that. We want to try and change that in some way, shape, or form. Also within the police, people in high high positions, people of color, the figures are crazy. You know, it's barely at all. I was speaking to a black guy who's from Leeds, who is now head of the complaints department in the police force. So he basically polices the police. And he was dropping some knowledge to me, and he was like, within the West Yorkshire Police 10,000 officers, there's like 3 or 4 chief inspectors that are, which is a crazy number, crazy figure. And it's things like that, figuring out why that is. Well, we know why it is, but figuring out what we can do to change that.
Is rugby league disconnected from the black community, Jason?
You know, there's not a lot of, you know, black people of colour in senior positions. And I think that's, you know, partly where it needs to change as well. You look at coaches, you know, in teams, you know, you look at all the back staff, you look at, you know, at senior level in organisations, you know, the chairman, the guys that are running the clubs, and there is very, very little there. And the trouble with that is that, you know, you're not getting the opinions of people who have been in those situations, that have had those challenges. I mean, I must admit, I'm a bit disappointed in myself in many ways, because I think I could do more. Quite often we think about, you know, can rugby league do more? But I'm part of rugby league. I'm part of society, and am I doing enough? And I have to admit, I've been so ignorant. I've kind of, you know, my dad wasn't there to, you know, to teach me about stuff that I should know as a black man. And I've gone on then, and I've kind of, you know, my first club, most of the people there were white. The community was all white, and, you know, so I've been a bit kind of mixed up myself, if I'm honest. And what's happened recently in America has kind of given me a kick and given me a slap, because it's just so easy to say, you know, are these doing enough? You know, is rugby league doing enough? Is society doing enough? You know, am I doing enough? And I have to admit, I ain't doing enough. And you know, there'll be lots of people now and you know, question themselves to think, you know, have I really grasped this? You know, what it means. So I'm kind of going around the houses here, but, you know, I think in lots of ways rugby league is disconnected from the black community, and that's because of the representation in there. In many ways it shouldn't, because there's lots of black players. You know, you look at some of the players that have, you know, some of the legends of the game, and, you know, they're black. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably not celebrated enough, the impact that black people, you know, men and women have made on the game itself. So, you know, yes, rugby league has a lot more to do in the community. What I have as a black man, you know, I've got a role now as the international ambassador for the Rugby League World Cup next year, and I know, you know, this last week I've had to slap myself in the face, because I'm not doing enough as a black man, you know, to educate myself, let alone educate, you know, people around me.
Like we're speaking about, has rugby league done enough? Probably not. I've only seen the Warrington Post, which I applauded them for, but like the comments underneath probably shows we're not a diverse sport as we'd like to think. Like we promote it as being inclusive, but are we really? Like some of the comments that was on that post, like I had to reply to them just because it just angered me that people still think that way. So I think rugby league has a lot more to do. Think of the platform the likes of like Leeds Rhinos has. It's got black players, black coaches. Does it take a lot to use them, make a post, make a statement? And I just think there's ways that we can improve, and I think it's down to everyone working together. It's not one person. I think it starts from the bottom and it has to go right to the top. And I just hope like it's not just a chat we're going to have today. And
Please don't let it just be that. I've always played rugby since I was 6 years old. And from that age, it's always been that black lad, he's fast, they're giving me and it's always been that in rugby. And when I'm 56 now, at 13 city trials, you're playing for school, and you're beating decent schools. You go to city trials, and they're all white lads. All the coaches are white. They're all there making silly remarks and stuff. So why do you want to play your best? The other lads there that want to get into city tend to know each other through various clubs or whatever. None of the parents are inviting or saying to your parents, "I come over here and how's it going?" At whatever level. So you're only good for the team you play for. And Jason said there's some great legends out there in rugby, and I know there is, but they're only legends in rugby. And outside of rugby, if you don't know rugby, you don't know them. Nobody's saying, well, actually, this legend's here and he's on the telly and we want more black players. And because you're only good for the team you play for at the time. And I don't think that's changed. I don't think rugby league, there's big enough, there's loud enough people in there to make the difference. Ellery Only people like that, again, they're a small pea. They're a rice grain. If we can get together and we want to change something, and we need to start looking at how we address the whole thing, and it's not just we've got one of them or we've got this lad and he's from wherever and it's great and that, because we've got to go back to, for this to change, I'm 56, we've got to go back to the year ones, the children that are coming through now and start educating coaches and how to speak, and you're not just that silly lad who stops on wing and all like that. And Martin will fire as fast as he was on wing. That's all we knew him for, do you know what I mean? There's a lot more about him. I've always known my identity. I've always known going into a trial or going into that situation, I have to give that little bit extra.
One of the biggest disconnects in rugby league for me personally is it's not an environment where you can express your blackness. In the changing room and even games, like I've seen, we've all seen, CHEV, you must have seen it, Jason, you've seen it, the racist abuse and that. And in the changing rooms, in rugby league changing rooms, you're just expected to accept it. Like if you say anything in response to a racist remark, I've had it from coaches, from players, and if you say anything, you've got a chip on your shoulder or you're just being difficult and that kind of thing. And I think that's where the divide starts for the players. When we played France, 2018, it was reported that the French chairman said to his players before the game, "We're going to send those monkeys back up their trees." This was reported in the media. The RFL were aware of it. We all had outcry about it. There was no investigation as far as I'm aware. Nothing has come of it to this day. So what kind of message is that sending out to the community, to the people watching the game, to the kids at home that are playing, that reading these tweets? Because I tweeted about it. I know Amari tweeted about it. A lot of the Jamaican players tweeted about it. And this happens in the changing room. This happens at games. This happens everywhere. As a black man in rugby league, your voice is not heard.
Oh, I've come up against racism in the sport. I mean, I took Ben out of rugby for a year because of the racism that he got. But I mean, with the regard of the connect, I think a lot of it is to do with although you think you go places, you know Leeds, or you know Rhinos, you know rugby, a lot of it is just down to actually seeing it played. Because I'd never thought of rugby until it was played in Ben's school. So Ben was into football. You see football
everywhere.
You see the other sports, but you didn't actually see rugby. So for me, it wasn't until rugby came into Ben's school that we'd even heard of rugby. So maybe that might be the disconnect. The racism thing then is the next thing, because like I say, you do get it. Nothing happens. And if they see that nothing happens, then it's not going to be attractive for somebody else to go into. Yeah. When I say nothing happened, I mean from the organising authority that is supposed to protect and follow the rules they set down themselves. If your organising authority isn't going to follow its own rules, people are going to look at it and go, well, why am I going to let my child, if as I saw it, I took my child away from that club because I felt that club wasn't protecting my child.
Yeah.
So why would any mother, black or otherwise, let their child play somewhere where they're going to be abused, and then nothing is going to happen about it.
I've probably questioned myself a little bit. Have I been ignorant to other people's struggles? Because I've never felt it. I've never felt a struggle. Yeah, I've had racism. But I've always imposed myself. If somebody didn't like me, I feel pity on them. If they don't like me from the colour of my skin, I pity them. I pity the ignorance. And I question and try and understand why they're like that, rather than feeling like a victim from it. And that's how I've always dealt with it. So I've probably been really ignorant to the point that not all people are like me. Probably like I've let a lot of people down. I've been in situations where somebody's been really affected by a racist comment and I've gone, oh, behave, just come on, who cares? Like, so what? And really, it's not, because they haven't got the core of them to be able to stand up and not let it affect them. So for me, this last few weeks has probably been a point that I need to stand up a little bit and maybe help people more.
Everyone in this chat is very lucky that we have that to rely on, that talent in sport, and that's what's kind of given us an armor kind of around us through our lives to that stuff.
Yeah.
But think about the person in Hare Hills or the person in CHAPELTOWN that doesn't.
I know, yeah.
That's what, for me, it's grating me and pains me so much, because it shouldn't have to be that you're good at something or you're naturally talented to have that armor and to need that armor in life. It shouldn't be the color of your skin. It should just be. And if we're talking about equality and people that are at them levels in society, whether it's politicians, whether it's people at the top of organizations, they think that they're equal, but they're not.
Yeah.
You know, there's serious change that need to come, and that's what's kind of driving me with this whole thing.
Fair enough. You said that kind of those behaviours towards you didn't affect you, but I'm being honest. To me, it does affect me. I'm really passionate about it, and I feel like throughout my, it's not an illustrious career, but throughout my experiences in rugby, I've had to conform and not be myself, and that's the issue. I think is that Black people aren't able to express themselves.
Respect for that.
Yeah. And I understand that, John. You know, I've coached young mate, and
yeah,
it's like I'm in a unique opportunity. I coach young kids. They can be anything that they want, and that's my message to them all the time, whether they're black, the white, or anything. And for me now as a coach, then I'm like I say, I've got an opportunity to help a young John Magrin be himself and allow him to be himself in that situation and police it and let it be and educate the kids as well that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Danny, can you just really quickly, Jamaica's going to be hosted in Leeds for the 2021 World Cup next year. It's going to be the home of the Jamaica team. What positive action would you like to see using that World Cup journey to inspire young Black kids and the whole Caribbean community before you go?
I think, like we said, it doesn't start with, but obviously the first thing is getting into schools. You know, boosting that. There's so many kids in this city with Jamaican roots that right there, and it's an easy in to them, for them. You know, it's just to relate to them in a way that and have them feel that sense of pride.
Obviously, big news today. Jamaica hosted 2021 World Cup in Leeds. How does it make you feel as a player? And we've had the experience last year. We did the game, record crowd, 7,200 at Headingley. It's so important. That 2019 work that we all pulled together as a team is so important now, given what's happened in 2020. So, first of all, how do you feel about the news? And what positive action would you like to see the city take in engaging the Caribbean community?
Leeds has an incredible Caribbean community, and the surrounding areas do as well. Huddersfield, Bradford, West Yorkshire has a really strong Caribbean community. So we need to try and stretch our tentacles out into those communities and really express our Jamaicanness as a team. Maybe we need to learn more, because some players might not be connected. Some of you coaches might not be as connected to the culture. So I think before we can then go out into the community, we need to connect in some way, whatever way that might be. I'm open to suggestions, but we need to, and I'm sure you all have made attempts to embrace your blackness, your Jamaicanness, but education is the first step in everything we do. I think the root of this call and the main steps going forward need to be education in all aspects.
I think out of this conversation is good because you're passionate about it. You want change to come. Now, because of what I've done and these guys have done in other areas, it's just about working together. I can bring something that you can't bring. You can bring something I can't bring. But when we put all these things together, then it just works. And right now we've got time before this World Cup turns up and kicks off to be able to put things into place. So it's not a token effort, around the tournament.
From what happened last year, I think this opportunity in terms of the city council and the Leeds as a city, Leeds Rhinos, I think for me, it's all about coming together now. And this call is going to really help build a strategy, because I'm going to take up all information from this call, all your ideas, all your thoughts, and pull it into a research document. Myself and Phil will present to the club, to the council, and will help us pull together a really positive action strategy around Jamaica, Leeds City, Leeds Rhinos, and how we affect community, education, and corporate business. There's got to be more engagement, and we need to get more funds into the Jamaica project, into the Jamaican community, whether it's CHAPELTOWN COUGARS. One of the big barriers that I saw when I went down to the COUGARS were some kids said to me, one of the parents said to me, some kids' mums can't even afford to buy pairs of boots. And I thought, wow, I'd never thought of that as a parent. What kind of opportunities is there for the cities and businesses around Jamaica being hosted in Leeds, Jess?
I tell you, I am so excited about this because, I work with lots of different companies. I have a few of my own, but sort of because of what I've done in the sport, I've kind of come out of it and gone into business. And one of the things that we've been trying to do, and Alex, is just get them into rugby league. Rugby league is a fantastic game. It's exciting, it's fast, it's hard, it's disciplined, everything else. It's got all the razzmatazz. Yeah, the sport it's great. It's just we need to get people to these games. We need to expose them to the game and the values of the game and what it offers.
Last question. I'm going to start with you, Shep. You're the best person to answer this question. Leeds as a club. There's going to be a big onus on Leeds, the club, to actually drive a lot of this good activity. And I know the foundation are phenomenal. I know that they'll get right behind it. I know Gary is really, really passionate about it, and some of the partners. Leeds as a club have had a number of Caribbean heritage players over the years. I remember when we were playing back in the day, and you're talking about Calders, Bales, you, Dwayne, Marvin, Leroy, Endo's, absolutely. I could name 15, 20 in 5-10 minutes just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But over the last 20 years, we've seen the number dwindle from the Caribbean community. And how does the club re-engage the young, gifted and black players in the community?
I think the biggest thing is that we need to support Steve more. He's in there. He's in the hub. Get the kids playing from minis. Do a mini session on a Saturday morning, even if it's for free. If Gary could get the venue for that and allow kids to start at 3 years old doing mini tots or rugby tots, I just think you capture them straight away before football even becomes a thing.
Bang, bang, bang.
If we can take the game and just put a ball in a kid's hand early before they're exposed to football, you're winning. You're winning. You've got an head start, and the likelihood is if you get 20, you'll get 10 that'll get hooked and addicted to the game. Which that's what happened to all of us. Everyone that's in here, we all got hooked on the game because we were exposed to it.
What would I like to see? Just everybody pulling together, because I think on this call, I think everybody wants the same thing. You know, everybody wants to give kids the opportunity, wants to go into the community, you know, engage with people from a really young age, go into the schools, educate them, you know, create these friendships. And then through the friendships, through, you know, playing the sport, it'll get them off the streets. It'll give them discipline. You know, it'll give them a focus. It'll give them people around them that'll say, you know, well done. Because not everybody comes home to a parent that says, well done, that encourages them. You know, for the ones that are not academically strong, sport is a great vehicle.
It's got to be.
Do you know what I mean? To actually be somebody or do something, you know, and then beyond that, you can go on and do anything you want.
And not even just to be somebody, it's also a great way to develop discipline and life skills. Even if you don't get to that top level. From where I came from who I was as a teenager, the crowds, the people I used to hang around with, I left that aside because I had sport. And that can happen for so many people, to get that esteem, to get that people who might be in the gang, who get their validation from that. They get it from their rugby team instead. At such a divisive time, it can be a powerful mechanism to bring us together.
And not even sport, you know, but being somebody, it's not just about sport, you know, just having a job, getting a job. All I'm saying is rugby at whatever level gives you that discipline. It gives you that, you know, that hunger. You know, it teaches about teams, leadership, just working together. You know, rugby league is you know, in many ways is just great, because it doesn't matter what shape you are, do you know what I mean? You can do it. You don't have to have a degree to play. So, you know, I get off my soapbox now, but I think a lot of the answers that we're all talking about are closer to home than we think.